Hi, my friends. I hope you're wonderful. I'm Meredith with Soul Navigation, and I am so excited to do this video for you today because I'm going to take a really advanced concept and I'm going to make it simple for you so all of you can enjoy it and understand. And this is going to be a two-part series. So what we're going to do is today I'm going to set you up for next Sunday's video. And if this is in hindsight, I hope that you'll go back and watch part 1 and then part 2, because in it, I'm going to give you a magic trick. So in my part 2 series, what I'm going to do is teach you how to find the headline about yourself. If you were a headline, how would I be able to determine that little sound bite that would describe the whole entire meaning and purpose of your soul? Why do you exist? And I will teach you through my magic trick, if you will. It's just a shortcut. It's kind of a hack. It's kind of making a really advanced astrological technique and concept super simple and super easy, so you can peel the onion. Now, you already know, if you've watched my sun sign series, which I hope you have, and my love series and all my other videos, that we're going way beneath sun sign astrology. And today we're going to talk about planetary rulers. And I'm going to explain to you why you cannot really be effective at astrology if you don't know your planetary rulers and how they're working in your chart and what they say about you. So first, I want to teach you how to determine what your chart ruler is. It isn't your sun sign, okay? And it isn't the ruling planet of your sun sign. And it is so super important that you know what your chart ruler is. So let's go dive into part 1 today. So if astrology was a play or a movie, the planets would be the actors. The planets are creating the action, right? The signs are the roles that the actors are playing. And then the houses are the circumstances in which they find themselves, okay? Or the place, if you will. I call them like the playgrounds. And we've got 12 different houses. Every planet rules a sign. So right now, what I need you to do is either screenshot this or write it down and memorize this. And I want you to think about your own chart, okay? So we know that Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. We know that Taurus is ruled by planet Venus. We know that Gemini is ruled by Mercury and Cancer is ruled by the moon. We know that Leo is ruled by the sun and Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. Some planets get 2 signs. Libra is the other face of Venus. Libra shares it with Taurus. And Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars. That's the ancient ruler. Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And Aquarius is ruled by the modern ruler Uranus and also Saturn. And Pisces is ruled by Neptune, the modern ruler, and Jupiter, the ancient ruler. Now, the ruler of your chart is found through your rising sign. So you can only know your chart ruler if you know your accurate rising sign. So let's look at a chart that I've done for you. So here's the chart for squirrel. This is one of the beautiful charts that I do. So when you order a chart from me, you get to actually see how gorgeous it is. And I have all different kinds of versions that I can do. But we can see right here that this is the rising sign. And here are the planetary glyphs and the symbols and the zodiac glyphs. So the ascendant is in Libra right here, right here. Now look at this. This tells you that this person is Libra rising. We know that they are going to be polite, probably pretty. We know that they are going to be cooperative and maybe well-mannered. This is not a person born a rebel. So with Libra rising, you know that Venus rules Libra. So what we need to do is we have to go find Venus in this chart, because Venus is going to tell us, A, what her chart ruler is. Venus is her chart ruler, but it's going to tell us more about it. And it's going to show us how her Libra rising is going to present itself to the world. And it's critical to know. So here it is in Gemini. And what house is it in? The 8th house. So now we've got lighthearted, cerebral Gemini that is mutable and flexible and adaptable and curious, the curious cat, and a little ADD, if you will, bing, 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 right, on 24 radio stations, and somebody who absolutely loves to learn. And then we've got this glorious Libra rising, which is probably wonderful people skills. So with double air, because you know Gemini is air and you know Libra is air, this person is probably a really good communicator at hello. Your rising sign always shows you how you will say hello, what your first impression is, and the beginning of your life. And if you haven't watched my rising sign series, please go figure out your rising sign and go watch my video on your rising sign, because I go really deep into that. But if we just said to ourselves, this person is a Libra rising, I guarantee you we would not see the depth of this squirrel. We wouldn't see it. We would miss the boat. So we've got to go find the ruling planet of the ascendant. We've got to find the sign that the ruling planet is in, and we've got to find the house, because the house, it's the sandbox she likes to play in probably the most. Libra rising, ruling planet is Venus. Her whole life is going to be presented in a Venetian way. If this person isn't pretty, I will fall out of my chair. If this person isn't polite, kind, cooperative, and diplomatic, I would be shocked. I'd be shell-shocked. I also want to tell you, when your chart ruler is in a harmonious sign, and I know that you know what those are because we just did that video last week, right? Cracking the code for compatibility. Chart ruler is at 15 degrees Gemini, and look at her rising sign, 17 degrees Libra. That's besties. So she likes that chart ruler. That chart ruler supports her, and she is going to feel mostly supported. Now, let's really mess it up, okay? Let's really mess it up. Let's really give her a mind twist in this. And let's go put that Venus chart ruler in the 8th house. Okay, so, you know, Gemini and Scorpio have nothing in common, nothing, not one thing. They have nothing in common. One is extroverted and the other is mute. Scorpios are mute. So in the 8th house, this Gemini can feel like she's drowning in a way. Gemini is light. It's lighthearted. It's ethereal in a lot of ways. It's ruled by Mercury naturally. And so Gemini has wings on its feet, and it likes to be in the air. It likes to fly. It's like the butterfly. It is the social networker. And Scorpio rules the 8th house naturally. It's the 8th sign. It rules the 8th house. So that little Venus in Gemini is like, imagine a fish in a fish bowl, a little fish bowl, and all of that water and that fishbowl is scorpionic, right? So this person's Venus is in a very deep house. It's in the house of everything hidden in a way, like the occult, the taboo, I should actually say. It's in an intensity. It probably loves murder mysteries and detective stories, and it loves figuring out and solving problems, and it's very, very, very private. As a matter of fact, the 8th house is the mute house. It is highly energetic, and it's very intuitive, but its language is not the spoken language, truthfully. And there's Gemini, the spoken language, in the house of not the spoken language. See, life is never simple. You know, you think it's all good because, woo, her Venus is in Gemini and it goes great with Libra. Yeah, but it sits in the 8th house. So there's 3 layers to her chart ruler that you have to know. And if you don't know, you're going to probably dub her as just a pretty face. And it's not true. There's a depth. And when she meets you, she will be kind, she will be polite, she will be courteous and cooperative, but she will also be one big giant thing and that is private. And she will also be a very good secret keeper, where you would think with Gemini in Venus as your chart ruler, you might not be a good secret keeper, but you put it in the 8th house, it's a good secret keeper. I want you to see how complex and rich this one little tiny layer upon layer upon layer, this little 3-layer cake, if you will, how rich and yummy it makes in understanding yourself or in understanding another person. You can't just stop at Libra. You can't just stop at Libra. You have to take the chart ruler, that Venus in Gemini in the 8th house, and you have to put that into the alchemy of understanding this person's persona and this person's approach to the world. She doesn't like fake. She doesn't like superficial. She goes deep and meaningful. Let's talk about this for a minute. I want you to know your rising sign. If you don't know it, you can go and purchase a chart on my website at soulnavigation.com and I will send it to you. But if you know your rising sign, and hopefully you've memorized the chart rulers, right? Please tell me if you know the chart rulers. You have to go and find that chart ruler, and you have to find where that chart ruler is, in which house, and in which sign. And then I want you to thread those 3 things together. And that's going to create a story about how you approach the world. Now, here's where it gets really advanced, and I would love to do this with you. You can do this with every single planet. So you can do this with your sun sign. But what I was giving you was your chart ruler. Now, what is a chart ruler, right? Because it can be different than your sun sign. However, I will say, if you are Leo rising, your chart ruler will always be your sun sign, but that's the only one. So what is the purpose of a chart ruler? Think about this for a minute. Imagine that you are a house and you have all of your energy here, and there is a generator. There's a generator outside of you in a box, if you will. And that generator is the conduit that pumps fuel into making everything about your life go. That generator is your chart ruler. And oftentimes it is not your sun sign. Your sun sign is your identity. But your generator, your chart ruler, is sort of the doorway in which you receive all of your life's experiences. And in that example that I gave you, Libra rising, her chart ruler was in Gemini, Venus in Gemini in the 8th house. So she receives life in a way that may look lighthearted, Gemini, Libra, but is exceptionally intense and deep, and she is seeking a profundity about life. So in this, I'm teaching you how to layer your own story. And your chart ruler is going to show you your concept of self and how you are going to just stand in the tornado called life. How are you going to stand there? And I guarantee you how you're going to stand in the tornado of life and I stand in the tornado of life, they're going to be very, very different, right? Because we have different generators. Is my generator pumping in optimism and happiness and joy? And do I see all the, the starry, starry sky? And is your generator pumping in reality that feels a little bit more cynical or pessimistic, right? And maybe we stand at opposite ends of the cube, showing each other a different perspective. It is so fascinating when you start peeling the onion. And this isn't even how deep it goes. We haven't even done aspects or progressions or solar arcs or any of that. But this will give you so much more than just sun sign astrology. So sometimes if I get a person's rising sign wrong, I'm often pretty good at guessing it. But if I get a person's rising sign wrong, it's because the chart ruler oftentimes is the piece that I can guess. In this case, this person could look scorpionic. Well, that's because her chart ruler is in the 8th house. She could also look Gemini because her chart ruler is in the sign of Gemini. Are you with me? Okay. Let's move on. By the way, if you don't know me, my name is Meredith. I've been an evolutionary astrologer for 20 years, more than that, really 23, but I've been working as a professional for 20. You can read all about me in the notes below, or go learn more about me on my website at soulnavigation.com. You can book a private reading. You can find all my other videos there. Thank you so much for watching. I love teaching. I love teaching advanced students too. So if you're on here, don't get discouraged if you don't understand everything. Just take good notes. It'll come to you. And I can't wait for you to watch my part 2 video where I show you how to take the chart rulers and figure out what your headline is for your life. Let's go back to my example in my chart. Okay, so I showed you how to find your chart ruler, which is no small thing. Now I want to show you how to find the rulers of the different houses, okay? So this is kind of exciting. Now, what you need to do is you need to look at the cusp of each house. This right here is the doorway to the second house. We know the second house is about your self-worth, your self-esteem, your value in life. And it is your perception of your value. It is how you imagine other people value you and how you value you. It is truly your self-esteem. But this second house is also going to show you how you can attract money, your inner resources, how money will find you, right? Here we have, right here, we have Scorpio. So we know that both Mars and Pluto will rule the sign of Scorpio. So we have to go look in 2 places, not just one. So let's go look first at her Mars. Do you see it? Up here in Leo. So Mars in Leo in the 10th house is going to tell us how she feels about her own self-worth, and it's going to give us a hint on how she's going to earn her money. We've got to go also, though, because we know that Scorpio is also ruled by Pluto, its modern day ruler. And here it is in Sagittarius in the 3rd. So we have to combine Mars in Leo with Pluto in Sag. And look at this, just for extra advanced bonus work here. 20 degrees and 24 degrees, they make contact. Anything within 10 degrees makes contact. So this Mars gets along with this Pluto, and it is the ruler of the door, right, into the second house. That's how she's going to make money. So we know that it's going to be through powerful communication. Sagittarius, she might work for herself. She certainly doesn't like a lot of rules around communication. She wants to be able to express herself freely. She doesn't want to be hemmed in or locked into somebody's agenda for her writing. She wants to be able to create or understand her own belief systems through her writing without a lot of rules. And then you put Mars in Leo in the 10th. She wants to be seen, to be known. She wants to be renowned, and she wants to be exceptionally creative. So this person is going to do some sort of marketing or creative writing in some way, marketing or sales. That's Sagittarius. She wants to be recognized for it, and that's probably how she's going to earn her money, through her mind, through writing. That could also be speaking or performing too, though. It could be singing. It could be on a stage with the Leo and Mars and the Sag, Pluto in the 3rd. It's something about creative communication. We know creative communication is going to be where she gets her self-esteem, her self-worth, and it's going to be the most valuable resource that she feels that she has, and it's going to be how she makes money. Do you see it? So what does yours say about you? So tell me what planet rules your second house. Where is it? Right? And we can start to unravel the story. So let's move on to the 3rd. So the 3rd, we know it's going to tell you about this person's cognitive skills. It's going to tell you how this person wants to communicate. It's going to tell you how this person wants to learn. It's also going to tell you about this person's siblings. It's going to show you sort of their relationship to their siblings, not necessarily what they wanted to create, but what was created for them. So we see that this is Sagittarius. So if you've got planets, a lot of planets in the house, that adds secondary layers, but the ruler of the house is the most important piece to that story. Unless you've got the sun there or 3 or more planets in there, then that can really start to dominate. But if you've got a lot of planets in a house or your sun sign is in that house, that is going to be extraordinarily important to the story, because wherever the sun is, that's where your identity is. So that house is the bingo house. In her case, this 9th house is absolutely critical. It's just critical because her identity is there. So let's go back. We've got to now go find, you guys know the planet. What planet rules her 3rd house? Jupiter. So let's go take a look at Jupiter. Here's Jupiter in the 1st house, right? So communication is critical to her. We already learned that because she's a Libra rising. Libras love communication and they're good at it. And the chart ruler is in Venus and Gemini is the communicator. So we already know that. So you're going to see that you're going to get the same theme often and frequent. And if you get the same theme more than 3 times, that becomes a chart signature. That's going to lead us to my second video that I'm going to do on this subject, where I give you my magic trick. So let's look at this. Here's Jupiter in Scorpio, right? In the 1st house. What does that say about her communication and her love for learning? Well, what I see whenever I see Jupiter in the 1st house, that's a really big, strong placement. And she's going to like to learn and communicate in a scorpionic way. However, with it being Jupiter there, there's a touch of optimism and happiness and joy. So I think scorpionic things make her kind of joyful and happy. The documentary on Ted Bundy, detective stories and murder mysteries and the occult and the taboo and anything that is not really too cliche. You know, Scorpio likes mystery and intrigue and solving puzzles. And she's also going to like talking about the physicality of people too, like bodies, because the 1st house is the body. So dead bodies, bodies that are not normal bodies, or people that are not necessarily normal, but maybe people who have a dark side or a twisted side or an occult side, or right? So you can see that she kind of likes thinking about communicating or talking about or learning about these occult dark subjects that might have a glimmer of hope or some Jupiterian value or belief or philosophical element to it, some redemption with that Jupiter there. Yeah, it's not Saturn in Scorpio, it's Jupiter in Scorpio. So there's something optimistic or playful about this too. With Jupiter in the 1st house, she would probably also feel like this is a big domineering energy that really runs a large part of her. Jupiter in the 1st house means you've got a big, big energy about yourself. You're no small thing, or at least you don't feel like you are. Okay, moving on to the 4th house. Here is Capricorn. So we've got to go find the chart ruler, Saturn, and we've got to go see how she views her family, her roots, her heritage. Now, I can see that Aquarius is sitting in there, so that's secondary. But the primary ruler for the 4th house is that Saturn. So let's go see what she thinks about. Oftentimes, this is how she feels about her mother, although the moon tells you that story too. This often tells you how the early childhood went. This often tells you how she views her roots and her heritage, her inner self, her early home life, how she grew up. So here it is, Saturn, right here, sandwiched between Mercury and Mars in Leo. I think she probably had a pretty strong sense of family with that Leo. You know, Leo is the tribe, and you got Saturn there ruling it, rules and regulations, right? With a strong Mercury and Mars and Leo. in the 10th. I have a feeling she came from a heritage or roots or a foundation that was fairly loud, fairly prominent, and traditional. Leo is very traditional. And it looks like there's dominance here. She came from something that was pretty dominant, something that wanted to truly shape her, because that Mars Saturn is just very, very domineering, right? So something really strong. And with Aquarius in there, with Neptune, wow, there's a little bit of a fragile feeling. And when you have Neptune in the 4th, oftentimes you idealize your family. Sometimes it can be that your family was checked out on you, but with all that Leo, Saturn, and Mars, I don't think so. But this Aquarius shows me maybe she wants to break free from all of this, heavy-handed or more heavy-handed energy, if you will. She might be a free spirit inside this more traditional, confining Leo, are you in the pack? Are you in the tribe? Are you with us? Energy. Are you loyal to us? Or are you going to leave? That's loyalty and freedom. Let's move to the 5th house. And the 5th house rules her children that she will have if she chooses to have them. And it also represents how we play, what's going to be the joy. How are we going to find joy and play and fun and love affairs? And this is where the one night stands live, and our risk factor around gambling and playing big. And she's got Aquarius there. So she's going to have a unique sense of play. We got to go look at Uranus, and we have to look at Saturn a little bit to see how that's going to shape up. Well, what do you know? Uranus rules that house. So she's going to have an unusual, and it's in Pisces, very creative sense of play. She's going to make crazy art, right? Like this is, and also the 5th house is the house of the performer. So she's going to be some sort of either performing or drawing artist. Again, we have that creativity, and that rules her house of play. She will also probably have very creative children, or she might have children in a creative way. It might not be in a traditional way, but we also got to go look at the Saturn, and there you go. It's in Leo in the 10th with Mars there. There's something very traditional and disciplined. So maybe she is an artist and she wants to understand traditional art and then more quirky, zany, unusual, modern art. So somehow that tradition and then that freedom with the Uranus. Are you guys getting this? I hope you are. I want to keep going, but I want you to be able to do this with your own charts, and I want you to be able to put your questions down in the comments, and I will try to answer them. So let's move a little bit faster because I want you to be able to do your own chart. You can see here that the 6th house is ruled by Pisces. And we've got to go look at Jupiter and Neptune to get the story. And the 6th house is going to show us how she's going to show up and do her daily duties. It is her daily dharma. It is also going to show us her health and her wellness, her relationship to staying fit and healthy. And it's going to also show us her love for animals, smaller animals like household pets. So, does she want to have pets? Does she like pets? Does she have deep bond with pets? Also, the 6th house is the house of mentors. Does she attract mentors who will teach her, guide her, and coach her in the early part of her life? And then after 36 years old, does she in fact become a mentor? And I would say with Pisces in the North Node there, absolutely, she becomes a brilliant creative mentor. Aries on the 7th house cusp, well, that's ruled by Mars. So we're going to find the answers about her marriage and her marriage mate through this doorway, Aries. So here we are, and it's in Leo. She's going to pick somebody who is very, very strong. She's going to want somebody who is classically protective and somebody who acts like an Aries, but truthfully has that Leo sense. She wants somebody who she is proud of, right? So if this Aries was ruled by Mars and Pisces in the 12th, she might choose somebody who is more sensitive and somebody who has to be hidden. So everybody's story is different. That's why we can't do sun sign astrology. If all you told me about this person was a Cancer and that's all I got to know, I would know nothing about them. That would be like saying I'm 5'9" and blonde hair. That's what that would be equivalent to. So maybe a little bit deeper. Oh, I got blue eyes. You know, I'm Caucasian. It isn't deep enough. So I want to crack this open for you. Leave me any questions that you have. If you need my natal chart, you can go to soulnavigation.com and buy one. And let's keep going. The eighth house. The eighth house is going to show me other people's resources for her. It's going to show me her level of how she deals with intimacy too. And it's going to show me where she's supported in her business ventures and in her cold hard cash, right, around other people. Is there a legacy for her? Will she inherit something of worth or value? I find it interesting that Venus, the planet that rules Taurus, is in that eighth house, which is very fascinating. It's like a double whammy. So for her and her sexuality, even though a lot of people would say, a lot of astrologers would say, you know, Venus in Gemini is a commitment phobe, or somebody who can't settle down, or somebody who doesn't just want one partner. But you put it in the eighth house, and Taurus is on the cusp of the eighth house, and it is ruling the eighth house, and the ruler is in the eighth house. This becomes a pretty loyal Gemini, right? And that is an oxymoron to a lot of people, but not in this placement. It probably wants to explore. It probably won't settle down at hello. It has a curiosity, but in the eighth house, intimacy with Venus, its ruler in the eighth house, is now very deep, and it's very poignant, and it is profound. I have a feeling this person has to be in love, Venus, in order to be intimate. So I think that this would be very hard to be intimate with a stranger with this placement. Even though Venus and Gemini, they could be with anybody. But you see how deep it goes when you weave all of the parts to it? It's absolutely astounding. This creates a loyalty factor to it because it's in the eighth house. And the eighth house has a very, very high loyalty to it. It's very private. It does one thing at a time, the eighth house. Here we are on the cusp of the ninth house, and it's ruled by Gemini, right? And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So we've got to go look at Mercury. Here it is in Leo, in retrograde. There's that ninth house. So where her sun is, right? Mercury is ruling it. So her mind and her sun are in relationship together for this ninth house. And this ninth house is such a beautiful house. It's a fun house. It's the house of your philosophical belief system. The ninth house is the house of the higher conscience, of your higher mind. Your higher conscience will be revealed to you in the ninth house, and what planets you have there. You will find somebody's belief system. What beliefs are you attached to? You know, are you attached to we should fly the Confederate flag? Are you attached to transgenders don't deserve to be in heterosexual bathrooms? Those are belief systems. Don't really answer those questions, please. Please don't answer those. I'm just saying that this is where you will find a person's belief system. And with Mercury running the show in Leo, right? But it's in retrograde. There's probably in the 10th house, there is probably a traditional belief system with this person. But because of this Mercury and Gemini running the ninth house's show, I have a feeling that while there might be traditional core values, I have a feeling that the curiosity of this person will sort of break free, crack open some of those traditional beliefs, and her mind wants to expand. It's curious. It's Gemini in the ninth house. She wants to explore the variety, the poo-poo platter, all the different ideas. She doesn't want to attach to just one thing. Even though Mercury in Leo will give her conviction, Gemini is the ruler of the ninth house. I understand she has a sun in Cancer there, but that Gemini ruling the ninth house shows us mostly she wants to learn. She wants to have an open mind. She wants to have a great deal of creative thinking, Mercury in Leo, and explore all the different creative sides to think about belief systems. Now, those belief systems are going to shape her identity with her sun there, and they're going to be very deeply felt because it's Cancer. So let's look at this, her career. Ruled by Cancer. Cancer ruling the 10th house. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon down here in Scorpio again. Remember I said about themes? This moon is ruling her career. It's also the ruler of her sun sign, so it's no small thing. Very interesting that her self-esteem is going to come from her career. It happens with a lot of people, and I see that more often with men than women, but also with women. The 11th house, it's only a small slice. It doesn't matter how many degrees the doorway or the cusp is. Right here, it's just a few degrees, but it is still Leo. It is not Virgo. Virgo fills up most of the terrain, but the cusp, the doorway is what we're looking at, okay? That is Leo. And so Leo is ruled by the sun. So this ninth house sun is ruling the 11th house. What is the 11th house? It's your hopes, it's your dreams, it's your wishes. It is also the organizations and the groups and the community in which you thrive in. It is the community of like-minded souls. And it is a house of friendships. It is a house of some sort of social networking with like-minded souls. It's like kindred spirits. It's like the house of kindred spirits. Now, these are also your stepchildren, your foster children, and your adopted children will show up in the 11th house. Hold on one second. For anybody who's asked me, what if I don't have any planets in a house? What happens? Look how absolutely, utterly critical the 11th house is for her. There's nothing in it. This is why you absolutely have to know your chart rulers. You cannot know a person. You cannot know your own chart unless you know your chart rulers. It's critical. Right here at the 11th house, no planets. You think, vacant. There's no actors, there's no play, there's no cast of characters, and there's no scenario. Not true. Her sun, her soul, her identity, her essence is running that house. And you know what else? It's the only house it's running, right? Leo isn't on the cusp of any other house. So whatever house you have Leo on, that house is so critical because your sun is going to rule it. Did you get that? Do I need to say that twice? Go rewind that and listen to what I just said. Wherever Leo is, whatever house Leo is ruling, that is going to be run ultimately by your soul, by your sun. And in this case, there's nothing else in it. But friendships are so important to her. She has to feel so included and be for her identity because the sun in Cancer is ruling this 11th house. So this sensitive sun, this sensitive identity needs like-minded friends almost more than anything. It's almost equally as important as this moon, right? Cancer's ruler and the 10th house. The 12th house is ruled by Virgo, Mercury. So the 12th house is what we're going to hide the most. It's what we are going to put underneath Harry Potter's invisible cloak. And it is also a sacred place within us, and it is our divine connection. And so she's got her south node there. But what's really interesting is we've got to go look at her Mercury to figure this out. And this is overexposed, but it is in retrograde. So we know that this Mercury in Leo in the 10th in retrograde wants to be heard, wants to be seen, wants to be voracious and loud and proud, but it's retrograde. It's that 12th house's ruler, and the 12th house is what we hide. So she probably hides that voice, even though she's so deeply conflicted. She wants to be loud and proud with it. And it's sitting right up here at the tippy top of her chart. And so there's conflict there, right? So if I was in this person's presence, I would ask, what are your thoughts and opinions about? I would try to pull it out of her because I know there is a Leo gold mine in the 10th house ruling that Virgo placement in the 12th. And I know there is the deepest desire to express, and she probably doesn't know how to do it. It's probably really a scary thing for her. So I hope so much this helps you in figuring out your own rulerships. I know this video was probably a little bit long, but I can't wait till I show you in my next video how we're going to take your rulerships and we're going to create your chart's signature and your soul's headline. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. Let me know what you got out of this. And thank you for being a subscriber. And if you aren't already, I hope you will be. And if you have any questions or any thoughts, just put them in the comments below and I will try my very best to answer them. And from my heart to yours, I hope you're wonderful and staying safe. Take good care.